How do athletes know that they are progressing? So throughout my process of training thousands of athletes, I would always ask them, what made you choose me over all the other options out there? And the number one response is because of my outstanding online reviews. They were able to see proof, right? That's just what it is. The next question I would ask about 3 to 5 sessions in is if they've seen any improvement in themselves, and if so, how can you tell? I would also say, go and leave me a review of your feedback and share it online. Don't tell me right now, I want you to go share it first. These are very important questions, not only to me in the training business, but for them as well. This question helped all my athletes or my players to think about their journey, how far they came and what skills or specific areas they became better at or that they didn't become better at. This caused them to reflect from the first day we met or trained all the way up until the day that this question was asked, right? Critical thinking skills. For players to get better and see the right progressions, there are 9 key ingredients. Listen up, I'm gonna list all 9 of them. You must be interested, number 1. Number 2, you must have goals. Number 3, you have to have access to the right resources. Number 4, you need to use those resources and build a progressive training plan. Number 5, give effort, it has to be 110%. Number 6, because we sometimes fall off track, players need an accountability program. Number 7, they must be able to track activity and effort. Number 8, you must have small checkpoints along the way to evaluate your effort to ensure that it's aligned with your goals that were previously defined. And number 9, you have to reward yourself. And over a period of time, your interest starts turning into passion as the athlete transforms through the 3 main phases of progression, which we'll talk about soon, to see massive gains and better results. Being able to see the fruits of your labor is so instrumental in how quickly players progress. And if you're unable to see any progression, then the journey of training becomes frustrating and adds a false sense of challenge. For some athletes who sometimes end up quitting and falling off, a false sense of challenge means you think the task at hand is tough because there's no quick results, but we all know real success takes time. But if you see progression, then you start building a foundation of confidence. You become more engaged, and then you eliminate boredom, and then you start finding motivation to push you through trainings, drills, and situations. This is important. So as an elite skills trainer, my goal was not to just get good reviews or bad reviews. It was also something I strategically used for athletes to perform their own small check-ins on their progression. One of the famous questions we always ask ourselves before we buy something we never tried is this really gonna work? And because of this question, I centered everything around adding value and ensuring not only my current athletes understand and see progression, but I also wanted my future athletes to understand and see it as well before they even train with me. After training so many great athletes and tailoring progressive training programs, I started noticing that athletes progress in 3 types of ways. Listen up. I'm gonna talk about the first progression. First progression is the bounce progression. This type of progression usually happens for anyone that first starts out. They're excited, they're pumped up for the first time. They make the effort, right? That's the ball bouncing the first time. But for whatever reason, there was not enough effort or momentum to keep the ball bouncing. So slowly they start tapering off, and over time they start quitting. Second progression is the active progression. This type of progression can be seen in those who have been putting in the effort, working on a game on the side, doing good in games, and you know what to expect from them every time they perform. This type of progression is called the active progression. This type of athlete is performing at an average level consistently. They're at an active or a certain level, but not much progression is happening. Now we're going to talk about the third progression, which is the progression we want to get to, is the building progression. This type of progression is what all athletes should strive for. This type of progression will be similar to exponential growth, which means the athlete is getting better at a rate that is higher or double more than their last performance or their training program. Yes, drills are important for helping athletes to get better, but you don't need to make them complicated. Yes, the amount of time spent in the gym matters, but it doesn't have to be a long time. Yes, having a trainer is beneficial, but you don't need one every single time. What matters the most is having interests, goals, resources, a progressive training plan, effort, an accountability program, a system to track, small checkpoints, and rewards. So with so many workouts and resources available, players can basically choose anything. And yes, for some athletes, they will see progression, but the question is, what type of progression? And is that progression aligned with your goals? Ask yourself that question. I've seen so many players go to the gym, brag about how many hours they have been there, but the question still stands. What type of progression are you seeing? Is that progression aligned with your goals? Very important. Currently, I help athletes achieve the right progression by providing progressive training programs, activity and effort tracking systems, accountability programs, online resources and training solutions, and incentives to keep you going. Recently, I just launched an online scoring system that gives athletes the blueprint to become a better scorer. The content in the course not only helps you become a better scorer, but it will also help you progress through various steps and help you see the gaps and missing pieces in your scoring. This will provide the opportunity to start moving towards what we call the building progression, which is the third type of progression we want to achieve. So stay one up on your competition with an online basketball platform that helps you progress and see quicker, better results in all aspects of your game. Let's get to it. Let's get started right now.